Hi there. Today I'm going to have a go at live streaming. I've been given this task by JMac to recreate the GitHub UI in Tailwind. So the purpose for this is to basically automate the process of creating these screenshots that go with every shift. And so JMac's created this new project, the screenshots project. So I pulled that down, so we'll quickly see what that looks like. So we've pulled that down now, so we'll start the server and we will open up Vim and then we'll seed the database. So MFS is migrate fresh seed. That's my alias for that. And alright, so if we come back to the URL. Alright, so we've got this UI, so let's go for we'll try the Laravel 9 shift, see what that's like. Alright, so this is what the UI looks like at the moment. And so we need to make it look more like the screenshot over here, which is GitHub. Alright, so let's go into our editor and close that down. And then let's have a look. What have we got for views? So we've got our layout ones, a shift index. So it's going to be this shift show. Okay, cool. So if we see over here, it's kind of hard-coded to Tailwind 3 shift rather than the shift name. So JMac's kind of scaffolded this out for me, which is really nice. So I just really need to focus on the styling. But let's just pull in the shift name, I reckon it will be called. We'll refresh this, Laravel 9 shift number 800. So, okay, so the number, so what's interesting with this is like if we refresh this page, JMac's kind of randomized some of the information. So like who merged it, the commits stay solid, so they're part of the actual shift model. But other bits of stuff kind of changes. So I feel like the shift number should change. So let's quickly just, what do we want to put in here? What if I said like rand between say 100 and 999? Is that going to work? Am I remembering my Laravel at all? Yeah, cool. All right. Or PHP rather. All right, so we've got a random shift number, so that's probably pretty cool. All right, let's start making this look good. So come over to here. I might actually open up in GitHub just so we can actually see the font sizes a bit better. So if we go to Laravel shift pulls, and let's just have a sneaky peek at the Laravel 9 shift. Now, we're not going to worry about dark mode. Because for the screenshot, like JMac's website's kind of all nice and bright and white and everything. But we will, this is basically the UI we want to replicate. So if we come over here, what I often do is come into here and see the size of this text here. So we can come over to font and see that it is 32 pixels. Now this gets a little bit tricky, but let's just say class text LG. So that's going to be 18 pixels, XL 20, 24, 30, 36. Alright, I reckon that's our closest bet. It doesn't need to be perfect. So let's kind of see if we're on the right track and Tailwind's working. No. Text 3. Oh, you know what I need to do? I need to run npm. Let's see if that's sorted it. Not yet. There we go. Alright. And then in terms of the font weight, we've got regular, we've got this Nimbus font. I don't think I'm going to go to the trouble of matching the fonts. So for now, I think that's pretty good. Yeah, cool. Alright. Now this span over here is a little bit lighter, so we might say like text gray, I don't know, 600, sorry. Yeah, look, it might be cool if I could easily put this into light mode. I might have to like go through my preferences and stuff for that one. Let's have a quick look. Let's hope I don't show anything I shouldn't in here. Light default. Oh man, it's been so long since I've seen GitHub now in light mode. Back to this PR. Okay, cool. So if we come back over and inspect this one, yeah, so it's like it's not black. So let's just say like text gray 900, and that kind of makes it like an off black, if that's a thing. Now, in order to kind of make this a little bit easier, what I might do is make this screen half width and this screen half width over here. Yeah, and I can kind of jump between them. And then I'll probably put this dock to bottom. Yeah, that's going to be nice. Alright, so let's start with this merged icon. So I don't know where these classes have come from, but we'll say rounded, full, BG, purple, let's try 500. I kind of like to put my paddings and stuff at the start. So let's say PX4, PY2, and then we'll say text white and text bold. I don't know, let's see what that looks like. Oh, okay, so our SVG in here is currently a block, so let's just say it's inline block. See if that sorts out, that's better. And then we want to say current color? Color, what is it, fill current, that's the one. Hey, that's white. All right, now the sizing's a bit off, so if we go back to, maybe we can try that. That's looking pretty good. All right, so we've got this thing here. I don't really like margin bottom, I prefer margin top. So let's say 6 to push it a bit further away from there. That might have been a little bit overkill. MT5. Oh, you know what? MT4 is probably all right. And while we're in here, I'm just going to give us a little bit of padding around the whole thing. Yeah, that feels nicer. Cool. Alrighty. So we've got the username. So we've got text bold there. I don't feel like our bold font is working, so I might have to investigate that. So look at our Tailwind config. So we haven't done anything interesting with that. Is it text bold? No, it's font bold. Yeah, that makes sense. I guess like some of these existing classes might have come straight from GitHub's source code. That's better. Nice. Alright, now this thing here has kind of got this section, and this whole thing here is like one big section. So I kind of want to, what do I want to do here? I really want to like put something around all of these. So if we said, I feel like spans are the new divs in this project. That's okay though. Yeah, well, let's just go like ML2. Yeah, that's not too bad. Now this whole thing here is kind of a grayer color, so we'll say text gray 600. That's not too bad. I feel like the font needs to be a bit bolder though. What if we say font black? Do we have that? No, we don't. I'll have to investigate the font. Because bold is 700, so yeah, that's already pretty heavy. All right, that's all right. So now the wording here is slightly different because this is an open PR versus a merged one. So we'll trust that JMac got the wording right here. So Jess Archer merged 8 commits into, all right, so now we've got these things that are these little kind of code things. So we've got random between main and master. Now I kind of want to make these, like if we make these a code tag instead of a span, is that weird? Is that kind of like unsemantic, I wonder? It doesn't really matter for this purposes because we're only taking, like the end result of this is we're going to automate taking a screenshot of this to add it to the image on this page. So we can kind of defer that, thankfully. All right, so let's say like BG blue 100, text blue 800. At the start of it, let's put a little bit of padding. I might just want to use line height to do this, but we'll see what it looks like first. Yeah, it's a little big. It's kind of like they might go like text SM. Do they shrink it down a little bit? Yeah, I kind of feel like that's what they do with that. Now, I reckon I've got too much padding, and I reckon we might try and solve that with a little bit of line height. What is that? That leading? We want to go... And then let's try that and see if that... Did it actually do anything? Alright, if we're not sure if it did anything, what we can do is go for like a really large number. Nah, it doesn't do anything. Alright. I thought that used to be kind of a way of doing that, but I kind of want like a little bit of padding, so let's just say P1 on the whole thing. Oh, look, you know what? That's probably close enough. Now that blue's definitely too dark. That's looking pretty close. There's a little subtle rounding on here, so maybe before our colors, we'll just say it's rounded. I feel like this is a little bit more rounded. Rounded, large. That's not bad. Alright, cool. So let's copy that, put that on that one. Yeah, nice. Now the merged ones have a date on them. Alright, I feel like I kind of need to see a merged PR. Here's one from earlier. If we just like open this in a new tab, we should get this full screen. Merge from that. That's interesting. So there is no date normally. Is that the way that GitHub currently works? Let's have a look. We'll go to pull requests. Let's go to the closed ones. And let's find something that was merged. So it's like 5 days ago. What has JMac done for the actual content there? Shift, published at. That's okay. I do feel like we need this little icon. So what has JMac done for the other icons? He's just copied the SVGs. Alright, so if we inspect this, and then just go copy outer HTML, and now it kind of sits like directly after that. So if we put that there, I think the idea is this is like a copy button for the branch. Alright, hidden true. That seems weird, but we don't need that anyway, so... Oh, the classes are over the end here. Alright. So let's say inline block fill current. Actually, let's see if how that fits with the gray we've got. Oh, you know what? I reckon that's okay. We can tweak this once we've got kind of like the main layout of things. I don't want to like bore people with the minutiae of getting it pixel perfect or anything. All right, so let's move down to our little tab. So we've got a little nav icon here. So we need to do these tabs that have like an underline going the whole way under. So that can sometimes be a bit of a challenge, right? Because like, do you want to put like a box here and then try and do these and have separate underlines for each of these? What I think I'm going to try is just start off with this and say border B. We'll just quickly do that and see what we end up with. So we end up with our nice gray line. It's probably a touch light, so we might say like border gray 400. Whoa, that kind of jumped. I thought the default was 300, but maybe... Yeah, no, I don't know if I'm seeing things, hey. Let's quickly just disable that. I like to just put an X on the end to take it out of play. No, the default must be 200 now, I guess. So that's cool. All right, so we've got a nice gray color. So each of the tabs is a span. So how about on here we say flex to start with and just see what that gives us. Yeah, that's cool. The change stuff's going to be pushed over to the other side. So where are they contained in here? Files changed. They are... Oh no, sorry, that's the... Okay, so we don't actually have this in our dummy thing here. You know what? I feel like this nav should really only encompass like this part of things and not really this. Like that's not really part of the nav, right? You can't click on it or anything. So we could almost say that this underline is part of the header completely, right? So let's see what that looks like. I mean, it shouldn't really look any different at all. So that should look the same. Sweet, it does. All right, so if with these over here, if we take all of these tabs, oh, they've all got different sort of stuff. All right, so let's just say we want them inline, block, fill, current. And then we'll come down and do it on that one, and that one. Nice. Now, I think we can pretty safely say like gap. I don't know. We'll see what that looks like. That adds the gap. We'll have to see once we add the borders though, like if that kind of messes up with us. So the only one that should have a border though is the active one. So now look, normally if I was building the UI for this, I'd want to have like individual components for each of these so that I don't have to like duplicate the code over and over again. But for this kind of case, I don't think that's necessary. So for this first one, let's give it a border, make it rounded and see what that looks like. Yeah, cool. So we're going to definitely need some padding. So let's start off with something generous. Too generous, but that's okay. Now we want to kind of have this going up and then down. That's interesting, actually. That, oops, sorry. How do we get back to zero zoom? There we go. Yeah, that's going to be interesting to make that. I reckon we got this though. So if we say rounded T, that should make only the top parts of it rounded. Nice. I do think it should be rounded. Actually, this is a good question. So if I do like rounded MD or rounded TMD, just to make that rounding a bit bigger. We also want to make our border gray 300. That's not too bad. And then we will actually want our border to be border T and border X. Surely that's not the right thing, is it? Oh, it is, sweet. Now the trick with this, if we put in a negative margin of 1, what would we say? So negative, so we've got m dash px is so we want a negative mpx. That should bring the whole thing down a pixel. And then if we kind of do, it's a little bit of a hack, but I think it'll work for our purposes. If we just say bg white, yeah, so that kind of makes it appear that it's open into there. I don't mind that. I think I can live with that. All right, so this nav, let's give it a bit of breathing room so it doesn't look so terrible. It looks like it's pretty consistent with the margin we used above. So that was MT4. It didn't work out as nice as I thought it was gonna. That's okay. That's all right. Now, we've got this P4, which is clearly too much. So we'll say PX4 and PY2. That's looking pretty good. Yeah, nice. Okay. So all these other tabs are going to be, let's like for consistency, so all the text aligns, we'll give them the negative margin. There'll be a PX4, there'll be a PY2, but they won't have any of the other stuff, I don't think. Let's see. That's pretty good. I do feel like the gaps are kind of interesting. The gaps between these they're all clearly too big. So if we just bring these down to like, I don't know, we'll start with 4. Yeah, it's not 4, is it? Do a bigger jump. That's looking pretty good. And then what I reckon we should do though is the gap between these edges should kind of match, like the gap between there and there should match the gap between there and there. So if we're using a gap 2 on that, so that's putting a gap, but these have all got, yeah, okay. So for the active one, I feel like we need to bump it to kind of, yeah, but that looks too big now, doesn't it? Kind of feel weird using like odd numbers sometimes, but like ultimately it looking right is more important than the numbers being satisfyingly close to each other. Or sorry, satisfyingly even or something. Look, I'm pretty happy with that, hey. Now the text for the active one is pretty dark, so we can say that might be text gray 900, say. And then for the other ones, let's say text gray 600. Let's just get a look on that. Yeah, I can kind of get by that. I don't have like a kind of the multi-cursor stuff, but I have other tricks in Vim. Yeah, nice. Dig it. Alright, so we've got these little count things. Let's build those. Now they look fully round, so they should be pretty straightforward. If we just say like BG gray 100 rounded full, does that put us, oh, we need to put just some padding. Yeah, PX2. A bit too much, and the text is clearly smaller. So if we say text SM, and maybe just a PX1. No, it is kind of bigger, isn't it? And there's maybe like a bit of vertical as well. I think that's pretty close. Now, inside here, all of these things are they've got a bit of a gap between them. So we could either like put a gap on the parent. Like what if we did something like space x2. Interestingly, that didn't affect the SVG. That's interesting. Frustrating. I wonder if it's because this isn't inside. I thought it kind of was given like an implicit container. No, maybe not. Alright. That is overkill though, so let's say space x1. That's alright. Nice. Alright, so all of these need a space x1. One for there, one for there. And all of this text kind of needs, let's see if I can do this. Yeah, nice. Oops. Oops, what am I doing wrong? This one's a bit trickier because it's 2 words. Just going to do that for the sake of quickness. So that should push everything a bit further apart from each other. Yeah, it's not too bad. Let's copy those. That's starting to look like GitHub. Very cool. There's definitely like a little bit of tweaks to do with like some of the sizing and colors and that. The font's not too bad of a match really. Like the tail on the A, this one kind of goes straight down, that one curves across a little bit, but like for this purpose that might be enough. Alright, now we want to get the commits panel for most of these because that kind of shows some of the cool stuff that Shift is doing. So let's move on to that one now. So we've got these partials, so partials.pr, partials.commit. So let's have a look at our commit partial. And let's say for each, it's been a while since I've done Blade. For each Shift commits as commit, and for each, this might be completely broken, but we'll find out. Oh no, that works all right. Okay, so what have we got? Shift. So we've got the Shift name. We don't have the... Oh, the user's always going to be Laravel Shift, I guess. Okay, that's easy. And then the commit date. That should be pretty straightforward. All right, let's give it a go. So let's put a container around this. And then for each one of these, first just like pull out the stuff we want. So we want the commit message. Oh, lovely naming. Lovely naming. Cool. For each of these, I'm just going to wrap these in a div so they go on their own lines. Beautiful. And then, alright, so we've got the Shift name, so we'll put that inside. I don't know, let's, H2 is probably not correct, but that's okay. And then underneath that, we've got the author. So let's say, hard-coded as Laravel Shift for the time being. kind of... I'm going to use a strong tag for this. It's going to be a bit inconsistent with the other page though, so we might come back to this. Right, so we've got Laravel shift committed. Hopefully that's the right number of M's and T's. 29 minutes ago. All right, so we've got the commit has a, is it the date? Oh, would help if we told Blade to interpret that. I can't remember what it was now. It's annoying that like in Blade it kind of doesn't, in my IDE it doesn't have the details of who committed it. So if we go to the commit model, commit table, Boolean, and the timestamp. So I've just got to create it, edit, and update it out. So if I look at the seeder, let's just jump into the shift seeder. So we're creating the commits. So we're not giving them a specific date. We'll probably use the date of the shift. Yeah, that'll make sense. Oh, actually, no. Forget all of that. It really should just be a relative time. We don't want to like have a hard-coded date on it. So if we came into this and said committed minutes ago, and then let's just say a random number between 5 and 30. That'll probably sound alright. Committed 24 minutes. Oh, no, they all need to be the same. Yeah, okay. This will be a little bit janky maybe, but if we say PHP and PHP, and just create like a temporary variable here and say let's do our little 5:30 there. And so in here, I don't like the thing that committed minutes ago. Minutes ago? Yeah, minutes kind of makes more sense than, because it's just going to be a number. Committed 6 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, 9 minutes ago. I dig that. That's cool. All right. So this is kind of like a light gray, text gray 600, and then this was a bit darker, so we'll say text gray. Laravel shift committed 29 minutes ago. Yeah. Let's jump into the real thing so we can get a better idea for scale. Alright, we'll start adding in this. So this one is going to be font bold. Oh, refresh the wrong tab. Yeah, I need to work out this bold font. And then the text here is all kind of small. So we'll say text SM. That's pretty cool. Now we're going to need this image. Unfortunately, it's not going to be an SVG here. Let's say open image in new tab. Save this image. Don't look at all my stuff, people. Save it into the temp folder for now is fine. Because then in here I can just say move temp. Oh, I should have remembered what it was called, 1.5. And that can go into public. We don't have an images directory. Interesting. Put it in public. Make the public images. Move public into public images. And we'll call this shift avatar.png. That should be cool. All right, so if we are in here, I'm going to break this out onto a few more lines. Indentation, killing me. Let's say image source is images shift avatar.png. This will be huge, but we just want to make sure that we've got our stuff going. Alright, so let's say inline block H for width for rounded full. Ooh, so close. A bit larger. Shall I go 6 and see if I overshoot it? Yeah, I overshot it. And I knew it as I was doing it. That's not too bad. The alignment's a little bit funky. Look, I don't know if I want to play with like what are the align things? I never find these are super reliable. It's probably not even the right one. It's like the text align, vertical align. No, I'm going to use a hammer and say flex items center. Nice. And then look, semantically I kind of feel like the image, like the avatar and the image, sorry, the avatar and the name should be like in the same container because they're related to each other. So maybe we can actually get away with putting this one as the flex. We'll say inline flex. On this one, then we can just put a gap to. That did not work as I was expecting, unfortunately. Let's get that gap good. Actually, these ones here don't look that well aligned either, eh? I kind of like the alignment I've got. Alright, so let's work out why this is not aligning. You know what? Let's use the hammer again. Flex items center. Bam. And then we can put a gap. Oh, the gap on this one's actually a little bit funny. The problem with using flex on this is like, this is a sentence, right? So this really should kind of continue as a sentence. So it's in a paragraph, we've kind of got spans handling it. But I would love it if the spacing between these two was like just a natural space. So yeah, inline flex. It's kind of annoying how the alignment there is off. I'm just going to basically just start throwing things at the screen now and see if I change the result. That's frustrating. That is frustrating. I will put this inside a span of its own. Not that it helps. Look, I don't want to get stuck on this. I'm just going to say flex inline, gap 1. Sorry. This was flex, item center gap 1. I can live with that. The only thing I would like to do is I kind of prefer this stuff at the start. I used to run that like Headwind plugin that would automatically change things for you, but when working on other people's projects and if they aren't using it, and if it just like does it on save, you end up with like a massive diff of all these things that aren't related to the file you're changing. So I disabled it for now. Alright, that's pretty cool. So MT1, let's say. Now for the shift thing, I'm pretty sure, yeah, they're all in this one box here. So for the div that's around here, let's say, whoops, class border rounded large. Oh, it's not too bad. The commits thing is going to have an extra container around the whole thing, I think, which is going to house some of this other stuff. But for now, I'll just give ourselves a little bit of breathing room. All right, that's okay. So for each of these, we want to, what if we say px4 py2 classic combo. We need to get those lines in the middle. Now I have a feeling there was it divide? Divide y. Oh, lovely. Thank you, memory. That's pretty cool. Now I reckon, just go over to the real UI. Yeah, that gray's the same. So if we say border gray 300, do we need it? We probably need to do the divide as well. Divide y gray. Is that a thing? No, that killed it. That's interesting. So we've got divide y. Oh, divide gray. Okay, divide y. Divide gray 300. I don't know why I thought I could put it all in one when that's not what Tailwind does for anything else. All right, cool. Oh, this is going to be interesting. We're going to need like a markdown formatter for this now that GitHub is like rendering these things as markdown. But we'll do that another day. All right. I'll tell you what, it is starting to look pretty good. All right, let's get that commit thing in there. So commits on and then the date. So we have the date up there as well. I might chat with JMac about that because I kind of prefer this one without it, even though like the current GitHub UI does have the date on there, because we want to have it definitely down here. So let's chuck that in now. So what was, if we go to our previous template, we had the shift publish out format. All right, let's steal that. And what's the wording? Commits on. Commits on. Now this one to me is actually more likely a H2, like kind of H1. It's like a heading for this maybe. It could be completely off base for that. So that means for this one, let me try something. CSTTH3, lovely. Alright, so we've got our commits on that. Now, we want this to be the month name. Let's just have a guess and see if that does it. Lovely. January 2022. Yeah, that's January 20. Yep, cool. And that kind of sits in line with that. This little border here is going to be interesting, especially with this little icon sitting on it. And like, there's different ways you could do it, but I kind of feel like you want that to be connected to this. So maybe some negative margins. I don't know. We'll see. But what we'll do is we'll come over here. We will inspect this and we will copy out of HTML. Let's just paste it there for now. Fill current okay, that's good. It's an interesting challenge, like especially when you've got multiple of these, because obviously this needs to always line up with this. So really that should be one div that kind of wraps that, but then you've got this line you also need to continue down this way. So I'm thinking that there's like a border left, and then these are in a div that is like negative margined to line up with it. But getting that line to line up in the center of that could be pretty full on. What else can we do? So we have that. Let's put that border in. So I'll put it on this container here for now and see what it looks like. So if we say border L, now it feels thicker. So like it's border L2, I feel like. Yeah, it's definitely a 2. I'm going to want a div around this whole thing once again. Let's see what that looks like. It's pretty close. And then so this one's border is more like a PX6, but I don't feel like there's like a top margin on it really. All right, and then if we get our SVG, I thought we made that inline block. Class inline block. Oh, because this is a H2. That makes sense. Bit of a hack, but we'll see. So if we then like just negative this across ML, if we negative across by the amount of padding. No, we need to go a bit further. I feel like this is, that's pretty close. It's like off by a tiny bit though, which is pretty annoying. The other thing is like there's a white background behind it, so I feel like this is not going to work, but let's just try it, just so we can really see it. Oh, you know what? It is going to work. We just need to like kick it over just a tiny bit extra. Now the problem is ML9 is too far. Yep. This is pretty hacky, so I probably wouldn't do this if this was like something that had to be maintained by people. But on here, if we do like an ML1 on that, an MLPX maybe? Is that even doing anything? Let's chuck an extra X on there to disable it. No, it is doing something. It's just... Let's just zoom out now and see if it's kind of... That looks about as close as theirs does, to be honest. So let's say this is inline block and give it an ML. This is going to be annoying because this kind of needs to line up with that. Far out, that was a bit too easy. Alright, so this one here, let's say MT4. Oh, looking good. Looking good. I'll tell you what, that's really starting to look like GitHub, eh? Now for the purposes of our screenshot, yeah, we don't need to worry really about anything underneath it because hopefully there's always enough commits that it pushes it off the page. For the screenshot size. Yeah, nice. Okay. The color is definitely off, so let's... Sometimes I feel a bit dirty putting these on like the parent of these, but I also don't really want to put it on, I have to duplicate it on both of them. 600. One thing that's kind of interesting with these icons, I remember a tip from, I guess it was probably Steve Shoga a while back, is to always make your icons like a shade lighter than your text color. So they kind of, they don't dominate. But because these icons are like outline icons, like they're fairly thin lines, I kind of feel like they're actually pretty good being the exact same color. But yeah, if you've got like an outline with much more fill, an icon with a lot more fill, try making the color of that like 1 or 2 shades lighter than the text color to kind of give more balance. Files changed 111. That seems like a lot, but JMac can kind of tweak those numbers if he needs to. It's kind of fun that every time you like refresh this, you get like a slightly different shift. I also love how JMac put me in there as one of the random merges. Alrighty. So we've got this extra stuff here over on the side. I might see if I can pull it out, and then I've got to get going for today. So that's in our commits thing. So we've got our little div with all of our stuff. So we've got this half of the thing. So let's put a div around the left half of that container so that we can have a div for the right half of the container. And then in here we'll have our verified thing. Lovely. Let's just start with that and see where we're at. Alright, so the first thing we need to do on here is say flex and justify between. Lovely. I feel like we should also probably say item center. Lovely. And then for this span, it's definitely a bit, text is green. 600, it's got a border and it's fully rounded. It's got a bit of padding. It's pretty close. I feel like that's that darker border color again. I'd almost be inclined to like customize the Tailwind config to make the default border color 300 for this project, but I reckon the text is smaller, hey? XS. Oh, it's kind of halfway in between. It's a bit annoying. The green is definitely darker. So we'll try that. That might be okay for our purposes. If I did steal their font, hoping it's an open source one on Google Fonts, I can probably get those things to look a bit better, because that does look quite a bit different than that. What was their font? Where's our fonts tab? Fonts. Nimbus Sans. I'm almost certain that's a Google font, so we probably can pull that in, but that won't be on today's stream. Alright, I think I might leave it there. I've got to get going. So thank you for tuning in, and I might do a part 2 of this either on the Tailwind stuff or maybe getting into some of the completely different stuff, like automatically taking the screenshots, maybe adding some markdown stuff to it. We'll see. Let me know what you think. Alright, thank you.